Hi, this is Maya from the Worldwide Good News, and I have Paul Off, the founder of the People of Peru Project, a project to help the people of Peru flourish and empower them. And there's also other projects you're involved with, I saw as well. Hi, Paul, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Great to have you here. So tell me a little bit about the People of Peru Project. What is it about?
Well, People of Peru Project has several different areas of interest and several different areas where we put our passion and our energy. And one of them is the Crisis Center for Abandoned and Abused Girls and Their Babies. And this is in the center of the Amazon rainforest, northeastern Peru, right at the headwaters of the Amazon River. The largest city on earth that has no roads leading to it is Iquitos, Peru, and that's where we're located. So we're in the middle of the jungle. There's 600,000 people up there, tremendous amount of poverty, tremendous amount of need on every level. And one of those needs that we're trying to address on a regular basis is our girls in that region that are abandoned and abused and have children that they're just unable to support. So that's one thing. Tremendous medical needs that go along with poverty in any country. Where there's a tremendous amount of poverty, there's just overwhelming medical needs. So we've got a medical dental clinic. So it's a free clinic for impoverished people. We've treated over 20,000 people with free medical and dental services in the last 7.5 years, and able to do that through the support of lots and lots of volunteers that have come, over 2,000 volunteers. So the medical and dental, the crisis center for the abandoned and abused girls, and the third arm is educational support programs for impoverished kids, children that wouldn't be able to go to school unless they were receiving some assistance. And of course, they'll tell you that education is free in Peru, and it is free in the public schools. But if you don't have backpacks and to carry your books, and if you don't have books to put in that backpack, or your uniforms or shoes or pencils and paper and that kind of stuff, then you can't go to school. So it's free if you can afford the registration, if you can afford the school supplies and the uniforms to go. And we've helped hundreds and hundreds of children have an opportunity to have an education by providing those things. So those are the three main areas.
How did you get into that? How did you start? What is your personal story in founding this?
Well, what happened was my daughter, who was 15 years old at the time, and we were living up in Eastern Washington, I owned a logging company and a little car dealership. And I came home one evening from work, and my 15-year-old daughter said to me, "Hey, Dad, the school wants me to go down to Peru with them and do music for a big series of meetings they're going to have in this Coliseum, and they're taking some doctors and dentists down there. They're going to do humanitarian work, and so they want me to go along and do music." And she was all excited about this opportunity that she had to go to Peru. And by the end of the conversation, she was saying to me, "Hey, Dad, you should come with me." You know, and that's a pretty neat deal. I know there's a lot of parents out there that could relate to that. Anytime a teenage son or daughter actually wants a parent to come along with them, that's probably a good thing. And so I took advantage of that opportunity, came to Peru for the very first time in March of 2000. And while I was there, I just saw a tremendous amount of need, and was able to help a few people on levels that really we couldn't here. You know, we had a good life and a good lifestyle. My kids had everything they need and most of what they want, but certainly we're not rich by any standard. And, you know, for example, here in the States, we were never in a position to pay for somebody's education or to pay for a surgery, you know, and a full surgery down there. The very first one that I paid for, a hysterectomy for a woman who was dying of cervical cancer, was $350. You know, and here in the U.S., it would cost you that much to get in the front door of an urgent care center. And so, it was just, my eyes were open to a whole different level of need than I'd really ever been exposed to before. And after that first trip of just being kind of personally and intimately involved with some families that were in need, I said, man, I've got to go back. So I started going back by myself without a group, and one thing led to another. The third year that I went back, I found two little girls that had been abandoned on the streets through the death of their mom. They've been in the city of 600,000 people for 2 years alone on the streets. And it was at that point, that was my third trip, that I knew that I wanted to do something specifically with kids and specifically with girls like these two that had nobody. So ultimately, we adopted those girls. They're now 17 and 19, and those are our daughters now. But they were really the inspiration for the crisis centers for the abandoned and abused girls. And that's really how it started, and just one thing led to another. We started inviting individuals and groups to come, construction companies and churches and schools and medical institutions and family groups and just anybody that we could tap into for their expertise and their passion, and compassion for people in need. And little by little, it just all started coming together. And, we just feel really blessed to be in the position we're in right now to help people. We've had over 2,000 volunteers now. And a lot of those people, granted, the majority of those people have come in groups and, universities and high schools and churches and civic organizations and families. And what has started happening is people have contacted us now and said, hey, 2 years ago, my daughter came down there on a volunteer trip with Washington State University, for example. And they just had a marvelous time afterwards going to Cusco and Machu Picchu and seeing the southern part of the country. But they can't remember exactly where they stayed or, how exactly do you make those arrangements? And could you help us? And just, we've got 5 days we'd like to spend and, we really don't even know where to begin. And so we literally helped hundreds and hundreds of people put together kind of the excursion part of their volunteerism. And they would come, because what would happen is groups would come, they'd spend maybe 8 days volunteering at our project in northern Peru in the jungle, which included, a couple nights in the Amazon and different things like that. But when they were done, they're saying, wow, we're so close to the seventh wonder of the world, Machu Picchu, and we want to see that while we're in Peru. And so is it possible that when we're done volunteering, we can go down to Cusco, do that? So we had been making these arrangements a lot already and are fully equipped there with housing and all the guides and transportation and food service and all that stuff. So then later people started contacting us that had never been here to volunteer for us, but it's like I said, my daughter was with this group, or my parents came down, or this or that and the other thing, or our church came and somebody was telling me that, that they had a marvelous time. And so to streamline the process and to create value out of this knowledge and this expertise that we had developed over the last 8 years, we put together a company called Peru Voluntours. So what's happened over the years is so many people had asked us to help make their tour arrangements for them. Peru Voluntours evolved out of that. And the typical People of Peru project person would come for maybe 8 days and then go do their tourism for 3 or 4 or 5 days afterwards. Well, Peru Voluntours is kind of the opposite. It's for that person that says, hey, we've got our vacation time. We're not really wanting to spend all that time working and doing construction or medical or these other things. We'd like to do the tourism aspect of it and then give 1 day or give 2 days to the volunteer. So it's kind of the opposite schedule. And it's really been just beautiful. We've had people that have come for 4 or 5 days. We've given them the jungle tour and all of the neat cultural things and all of that while they're there, but then they've spent a day or two helping us, or even 1 day or an afternoon, becoming kind of intimate with a family that we've been involved with. And they might take that family into town with the shopping list that we've given them to say, okay, this little girl needs her uniform and here's where you're going to go. And we give them the money and we give them the translator to go along, and they just have this beautiful experience with this family. Maybe take them to dinner in a restaurant and take them back to their very humble home at the end of the day and help them to put these groceries away and just see the excitement of a family that's received, $10 worth of groceries, what we'd spend on 2 lattes at one of our favorite coffee houses. And it makes this huge impact on the person that's being helped or the family that's being helped. And these volunteers, these tourism people are saying, wow, this is amazing, that we could give or facilitate such a meaningful experience to somebody for so little. It didn't cost us anything but a little time and a few dollars, or they might go to a struggling public school in one of our poor communities and paint a classroom. or they might take on some little project. It just depends, and we arrange that with them ahead of time. We say, what would you like to do for your volunteerism? Would you want to be involved with the family or some kids, or you want to help out in school, or you want to put on some little health related program, or what is it you want to do? And then we just help them create that scenario, and it's been extremely meaningful. And then there are people that say, well, we've only got 5 days and we would love to volunteer, we just don't have time. What can we do? Hey, make a little donation. We'll take that donation and we'll hire some man that is struggling to support his family. We'll hire him to go paint that classroom at that school. Then two families are getting blessed, or the school's getting blessed and the family that needs the work. And so there's a lot of ways to help. And it's just been really a neat deal. So we're set up now with Peru Volunteers for all of Peru: Cusco, Machu Picchu, the Nazca Line, Lake Titicaca, and northern Peru up in the jungle. So whatever somebody wants to see, we got you taken care
of. That's wonderful. It's a great way of touring and being of service, and feeling that you're not just going to, you give the money to the government there if you go just touring, but then you can actually give your money and see that it doesn't go through a huge foundation, but actually goes to the person themselves. And I think that's your, if to use a business term, your value proposition that is different from other big foundations, that you are there on the ground actually doing the work and actually connecting the dollar or whatever other currency to the people who need it, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. For example, a family unit might come and have some teenage kids that are, boys or girls, doesn't matter, feeling, some family that says, hey, we're kind of rough and rugged and we don't mind a little hard work for the day, and what could we do? We can take that family, and that family can provide the labor to drill a water well for a poor family. In one day, we have the little well drilling equipment, and in one day, a family can do the labor, provide the labor to drill a well, and at the end of that day, the families that they're there to serve will have fresh water at their home for maybe the first time in their entire life. And it's just huge. It's a huge thing to these impoverished people. And you just can't help but leave there impacted and changed when you realize that you've changed somebody else's life.
What is the plans for the future? Are you expanding this? Are you growing it? And also, what are your needs? If people are watching that, how can they help?
Well, we have so many needs on so many levels, you can imagine. We encourage people to come. We realize that there are organizations scattered all over the world that are less than noble in their endeavors, and they're telling you one thing, but they're doing something else. So first of all, we encourage people to come check us out, see how we work, see what we do, see how we live. You'll know that there isn't anybody getting rich off this. That we're there to help people, and that's it. Any of the people that are there volunteering from the U.S. long term are doing it without salaries. Any of the staff that are working for our organization that are Peruvian are being blessed, and their families are being educated as a result of their job, and it's been a real neat thing. So first of all, we just encourage people to come. But the second part of your question, what are our long-term plans? What do we want to do? What do we want to do to continue? We've got our medical and dental clinic, which has already been a blessing to thousands of people. We had funding about 2 years ago for our surgery center, and so we've got plans. We've got the land. The community where we live has enough confidence in the work that we've been doing that they've already given us the land to build a surgery center. And we had the money. The money was in the bank. And during the blueprint and engineering stage of that process, the economy started to turn south, and this was, 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and the economy started to tank here in the U.S., and the individual that had pledged this money for our surgery center owns a banking system, a small family-owned banking system in the southeast part of the U.S., and so who gets hit. The interest rates and the value of the American dollar started to drop, and he had to withdraw his offer based on the downturn in the U.S. economy. Fortunately, we had the money to complete the clinic part and the dental part. That's been a huge blessing, like I said. But our plan now is to continue looking to come up with the funding that we need for our surgery center. There are literally people dying every month in this city of 500,000 for lack of access to the surgeries they need to live. And people say, well, can't they just go to the public hospital? Can't they just go to the private hospital and walk in and be treated? No, they can't. They don't have laws there like we have in the U.S. You know, you can be bleeding. I mean, you can have just come out of a serious accident, or you know, children that are burning up with fever, or that are, you know, have been dehydrated and diarrhea and vomiting for days because of some bacterial infection. It doesn't matter how close to death you are. When you come to a hospital in Peru, public or private, the first thing they will ask you is, where's your money? And if you don't have money to pay for the services that you need, you will not get served, and you'll die in the parking lot. I mean, that's just the way it is. Because if it weren't that way, all of these hospitals would go under for lack of funding. They don't have the money to serve people that can't pay. I mean, that's the bottom line. So it makes clinics like ours really unique. You know, we've never charged anybody anything. You know, we've served over 20,000 people with free medical and dental services, but we've never charged anybody anything. If people come, and if they're poor, we take care of them to the best of our ability. Now, sometimes, because we don't have our surgery center, we have to take them to the private hospitals or the government hospitals in town, and then we pay for their surgery, you know, because people don't have the money. So the idea is that when our surgery facility is complete, that volunteer doctors and medical teams and advanced medical students, people that are doing their surgery internships, that kind of thing, they'll be coming there and providing those life-saving surgeries for free to people that would otherwise not receive them. So that's the big plan. Now, the secondary part is we need to finish the physical plant, the rest of our buildings. We need some more staff housing. We need another dormitory at our crisis center. We need our multi-purpose building there at the crisis center, you know, to finish up. I mean, we're still growing that. We are not at capacity. Well, we're at capacity for the buildings that we have finished now, but we're about half of what we want at the crisis center. We need our second dormitory. So that's on the horizon. And of course, the educational support program, the breakfast feeding program, I mean, all of that stuff could grow. There are no limits. You know, there are tens of thousands of hungry children going to school every day. Tens of thousands of kids that get up in the morning, go to school from 7 o'clock until 1:30 or 2 in the afternoon, go home. If they're going to eat something, they eat something in the middle of the afternoon, and then they go all afternoon and all night, and then get up and go to school again the next day on an empty stomach. And every day the teachers send students home because they can't concentrate, or their blood sugar is so low that they're passing out, or they're too faint to do their physical activities, or they're just too miserable from hunger pains, they can't concentrate, so they just send the kids home because they haven't eaten since yesterday. You know, so we've got a breakfast feeding program. We're always looking for sponsorships. We have lists of kids that would love to eat breakfast in the morning, but their parents can't afford it. And so that program could grow. You know, on my bucket list on my Facebook, you know, it says that one of the things I want to do before I die is to make sure that every hungry child in Iquitos, Peru, goes to school with breakfast. You know, and I know that's a pretty lofty, pretty lofty goal, but you know, I think it's worth pursuing.
That's great. Thank you so much, Paul, for what you're doing in the world, and for the opportunity to talk to you about it and to spread your good news, because it's truly inspiring, and it gives people, you know, a thought of what can they do, from either donating to the organization, the foundation, or actually taking themselves to Peru and seeing how they can help on the ground and see it for themselves. And you're giving me an idea for a holiday in the next couple of years. I've always wanted to see the Nazca lines.
Absolutely. And, you know, people do this all the time and almost apologetically, oh, I'm so sorry, but, you know, we're not in a position to be able to go. I have elderly parents, or I have, you know, some health condition where I can't go, or, you know, there's a lot of reasons why not everybody is called to go to the Amazon jungle. I mean, I understand that. And people don't need to feel guilty or feel bad because they can't go, or for that matter, they don't feel like it's their calling. That's okay. But thank God that there are people back here in this country that have been given the gift of finance and the gift of making money and the gift of being prosperous, so that they can stay here and help those of us who are going, to finance the projects that we have down there. If everybody went and there was nobody here to make money, we'd all be in trouble, But if somebody can't do any more than sponsor someone that wants to go, or to help us pay our monthly bills. I mean, we're feeding kids every month. We have tuition to pay. We've got kids in the university down there. We've already graduated 2 dentists, a professor, a lawyer. We've got a girl finishing mechanical engineering this year, one that has started her child psychology internship. We've got one studying business and tourism. We've got kids in the university. We have to pay those tuition bills every month, and all of the medical things that come as a result of treating people. So we're just glad that there are people here in this country that not only have the ability to make money, but that have the passion and the sensitivity to share that with those of us who are trying to accomplish something. So thank you ahead of time, anybody that's going to help us do that, because we're passionate about what we do. We invite you to come and be a part of it. If you can't do that, then just please support us while we're doing the best we can down there.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you again so much for all your work and for your continued work in Peru. I know you're making such a difference in the world, and I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Oh, there are people that get up every day and wonder, what's the point? Mm-hmm. And I have told many people that have gone through difficult times, that have just experienced loss in their life, or that are just in that endless rut of kind of nothingness, and I've said, what you need right now in your life is some Peru therapy. You need to come down there for 10 days and be with us and see the incredible needs, and see what your life means to somebody else. And mm-hmm. If you do that, your perspective will change. And no matter what you're struggling with back in this country, all of a sudden the eyes start to open, and the ears start to open, and the heart starts to open, and life can take on a whole different sense of meaning and purpose when we start fulfilling or filling the needs of other people that really don't have any alternatives like we do. So that's what I'd like to say to people is, come, join us, be a part of it.
Definitely. So that's really a wonderful message. Thank you, Paul, so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And this was Maya from the Worldwide Good News.